Hello everyone, welcome to today's English with Terry. In today's video, I will be sharing helpful tips to help you remember everything you read. Have you ever been to an exam hall and you can't seem to remember everything you've read? Or sometimes anything? Well, if this has happened to you, don't despair, you are not alone. In today's video, I will be sharing some helpful tips to help you remember everything you read. These tips have been very helpful to me and to a lot of persons. So I'll suggest you give them a try. Let's go to the very first, my very first. Pick the right time to read. Fatigue can negatively influence your ability to focus. So don't read when you're tired. Pick a time of the day that you're well rested. Personally, I like to read very early in the morning or late at night when everywhere is quiet. After taking a short nap, of course. That way, I tend to retain about 90% of the information I read. That's quite helpful. Yeah, especially if I have an exam to pass. Well, tip number 2. Before you start reading, skim and scan the text first. Just flip through the pages, get the gist of what you're going to read. That way, it sticks more. The third tip is something I really like to do, and that's because I found it very helpful. If you read something you like, there is a tendency that you would want to keep reading. So if you're reading books with chapters, you can flip through the chapters or the content to see what interests you the most. Start reading from there. It doesn't matter what chapter it is. It could be chapter 10 or the last chapter or the chapter at the middle of the book. It doesn't really matter. Start with what you enjoy or what you like. There is a tendency that you would want to keep reading. Sometimes I read from the very end of the book, go back to the beginning, back to the middle, and then read everything all over again. So you can also give that a try. The next tip is to try to summarize what you've read in your own words. We see people trying to put everything in a textbook in their head at the same time. It doesn't really work that way. It's really difficult to remember everything in a book word for word. Well, if you have a photographic memory, that could work. But if you do not have a photographic memory, well, you want to try to summarize what you've read in your own words. How can you do this? Think about what you're reading. What are the main points? What's the author trying to tell you? Or what's the lesson really talking about? Get the main points and summarize these main points in your own words. You do not really need to write word for word what you have in a textbook. You just need to get the right information, the main points, and you put them down. This is very helpful if you're reading or studying for an exam. The next point or tip is that you need to learn to sleep and rest before you study or read intensively. Get enough sleep, get enough rest. Give your brain a break. That way you get to retain more information. If you are an auditory learner like I am, it could be very helpful to read some of your content or the content aloud. Yes, that way you're not just using your eyes, you're also making very good use of your ears. I am an auditory learner and that has been very helpful. Read aloud, what you hear goes here. Okay, this next tip is actually backed by science. Well, yes it is. Research shows that you retain more if you read from a hard copy. You heard me. So if you have a book, it's way better to read from the book than from your mobile device or from your Kindle version. Yeah, so read from the hard copy. It's easier on the eyes and you tend to retain more that way. The last tip to help you remember everything you read is to use mnemonics. A mnemonic is a short sentence or poem designed to help you remember something. If you want to set goals, you need to remember your goals should be SMART. SMART is a mnemonic. You want to get to 4 million? Well, just Google it. You know about Mr. 90D and lots of mnemonics to help you remember something. Create your own mnemonics. Do you have a list of items? Can you pick the first letters or the first words? It could form a song or a poem, and this will help you remember. Let's go through the points one more time. Pick the right time to read. Do not read when you're very tired. Skim and scan the text before reading. Start with what interests you the most. Take notes and summarize in your own words. Get adequate sleep and rest. Avoid the temptation to read all night before an exam or an interview. That does not really work in most cases. Read some of the content aloud, especially if you are an auditory learner, like I am. Go for a hard copy. This is because online content is harder to recall. And finally, use mnemonics. These tips have been very helpful for me, and I'm sure you're going to find them very, very helpful. So if you have an exam, you want to read extensively, you want to read for an interview, you want to really study, use all of these tips, and I'm sure you're going to find success. Feel free to subscribe, like, and share, and if this is your first time, do well to take a tour.